This is the B-side, 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 the marriage. This is the B-side, 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 the marriage.
Another episode of the Bsideofmarriage podcast. My name is Rashonda, and this is my husband,
Jason.
And this is a podcast where we talk about everything related to marriage, the ups and the downs, the A and the B side. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. Glad to have you. We are marriage champions.
Okay.
Yes. Like we are very passionate about seeing other couples, other marriages succeed, and we just offer up our advice and knowledge that we've obtained over almost 13 years of marriage. And so with that being said, the first segment that we like to have is where we share an A or a B side moment from the week.
And as always, I go first.
And as always, you go first.
Mine is it was a B side, I guess, because last weekend my allergies were kicking my butt. Like all Saturday, I was tearing, sniffling, sneezing, and from that, I lost my voice. It was like Sunday to Tuesday, I lost my voice. I was completely out of it, but I'm coming out of it. I feel better. It's not as bad as it was this past week.
Correct.
But I'm better now. So, What about you?
Oh, I have a Rolodex of B-sides. This has been a tough week. So I guess I'll just piggyback off of your B-side.
Okay.
So Jay was under the weather, which meant, this was really annoying because he just woke up one day and his voice was gone. Then as the day progressed, he got this cough. And then like the next day was when it was like mucus drain. And I'm just like, what's going on? Which would be fine if there was like over the counter, because like he's like, I don't feel bad. It's just,
I can't talk.
Then he's like, I have this dry cough. And I'm just like, okay, well, you need to take something so that you can start feeling better. But he was like, I don't feel bad. Okay. So all that leads me to my B-side, which was he's not sleeping through the night, which means I don't sleep through the night. And our schedules are pretty intense, so that I need to have at least 6 hours. Get at least 6 hours in. And I was not getting that. And that was like multiple days. To the point where it was like, I volunteered. I was going to sleep anywhere else but in the bed with you. But he ended up leaving. But I was just like, I can't go 3 nights without sleep. It just was not happening. And then what was weird was because like he would be fine during the day. But the moment it was time to go to sleep,
don't know what it was.
The drainage, the cough, it's just everything escalated. And I was just like, oh. And I'm a light sleeper. So that also did not help.
I'm not. So
that was my B-side.
Yeah, pretty rough.
It's been an interesting
But we made it through. It's all good.
We're making it through.
So
we'll be in full transparency. We're making it through. Hopefully he doesn't.
You're sleeping better though.
Yes, I am getting sleep, but then there's other things. But yeah, save that for another time. But hopefully you can make it through this episode without coughing, having a coughing fit or something.
I hope so. And I left my water over there, so it's all good.
Okay. So since his voice is here, we're going to let him produce this one. And so Jay, what are we talking about today?
All right. Well, I've been kind of sitting on this for kind of a while, and it kind of just brings me back. Like one of my friends got married a few years ago.
Okay.
And when I was one of the groomsmen, I wasn't the best man, but he asked me to say something, to speak at the wedding. And it kind of, at first I was like, for what? I was like, I'm not the best man. So kind of, at first I was like, wait, why? And then it just, as I was just sitting there, it just really, it made me think like, hey, you know what? I was like, me and him have been very tight for years and years and years over. Now it's what, 30, almost 30. Wow. 30 plus years, 31 years, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, about 31. Ooh, man. Yeah. So, you know, from what he actually asked me to speak, not even when we speak about, he just wanted me to speak. And it made me think about something that I learned, that we both learned, you know, when we was probably in our third year of marriage. It was like, I was asked to actually speak at one of our marriage ministry monthly sessions. Mm-hmm. And it was on the covenant of marriage, but that's not what we're going to speak about. What we're going to speak about is the similarity of, I guess I want to say how the similarity between diamonds and your marriage. Okay. So I'm going to try to remember what I exactly said during the speech, and I'm not going to give you the whole thing, but what I said was the journey of marriage is like a diamond. It's formed under pressure, but the process is not overnight. Over time in your marriage, you'll face different pressures, and it could be from work, it can be from family, it can be from friends, or it could just be from what's happening in the world. And then this pressure is not meant to tear you guys apart. Instead, it's meant to bring you guys closer to each other, bonding yourself to one another. And then it's in these bonding moments where your marriage becomes stronger and shine brighter. So again, it was just something that, you know, I said, and it really just came off my head because I really, up until when they asked me to come up, I had no clue what I was going to talk about at all. But then it just kind of just clicked in my head. It's just like, you know, for somebody who's about to get married, you know, what's something that I can impart on them? And again, like I said, you know, this is something that I did some research on when I had to speak at our monthly session on the covenant of marriage. And it kind of intrigued me because it's like, okay, you know, when we get married, but the big thing is you want to get a diamond. You want to get this specific type of diamond, a specific cut of diamond, and it has to shine. It has to, you know, it has to have all this clarity. It has to have all these little properties.
I didn't, but go ahead.
I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying in general. But we never think about how that came to be the way it looked.
Oh yeah.
You know, so that's where it's like, you know, I'll give you some like, I guess, some information about like the formation of a diamond. So I only put down 3 things because I kind of want to get them all together. But one was it takes materials in the earth that are deep down in the earth to bond with one another together. And then in order to get this diamond from these materials, it has to have a critical temperature and a specific pressure needed to create this natural formation of what they say is coal, which is made of carbon. And the temperature that is needed is basically at least 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And the pressure that it needs is 725,000 pounds per square inch. Okay. That's roughly 4,000 Asian elephants standing on your toe.
Why do elephants gotta be Asian?
No, it's a specific type of elephant.
So are they like the biggest elephants? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I believe so. Yes, okay. They're one of the biggest ones. I don't know how many tons they weigh, but
that's what I'm trying to. Okay.
Yeah, so it's approximately roughly 40,000 Asian elephants standing on your toe to get the pressure that you need. So you need 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit and 725,000 pounds per square inch, which is those 40,000 Asian elephants. And then it takes roughly 1 billion to 3.3 billion years for for it to actually...
One diamond.
Yes, one diamond.
Okay.
So when I kind of think of kind of those little things we just talked about, I came up with, and I want you to kind of tag in. When I say tag in, but I want you to kind of tell me what you think. So the first part, how does this relate to marriage? And when I say relates is, when we first get married, there are some things that you need, in your marriage, which forms the bonding. You're gonna, like I said, you're gonna deal with some type of pressure that's coming from the outside of your marriage. Mm-hmm. And then again, your marriage takes time. It's not something that you get from day one. It takes time to get that, I'm gonna say that luster, that shine that you need. Okay. It's not something that's done overnight. So I know it was a few weeks ago, we talked about one of the critical things for us when we got married, that we needed to bond with each other, which was commitment. That was one of them. You don't think that's...
The first thing that you need in order to bond, you have to have an attraction toward each other.
Okay.
I feel like the bonding stuff, that's pretty much, I feel like that's before you actually say I do.
But the attraction you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Like the materials, so you said like, it takes certain elements within the earth to bond together to then start this process of forming a diamond. Okay. Right? Yeah. So I see like the attraction and then commitment, like those elements bonding together. Okay. To then say, hey, we can get married. Okay. So that's my answer.
So those are the materials that we needed to bond with each other.
I feel like, we need to be attracted to each other. Okay. And committed to like, oh, okay, this goes like, so attraction is, a very physical thing, right? Mm-hmm. But the commitment, but paired with commitment, then it creates like that steady relationship. Okay. So you're like, oh, I'm committed to you. Yes. And y'all start understanding your likes, your dislikes, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, oh, I can see us having a future together. Okay. So at that point, you're bonded. Okay. And then you get married.
And then...
Or you have a wedding or whatever, and you sign the paperwork. And that's when the heat and the pressure come.
Okay. So I guess, so you don't think...
So what are you thinking?
No, so you don't think throughout us, and I'm just going to use us, before we got married, that there wasn't some type of trust that we needed with one another? Like you
generally, okay, so I feel like we had a general trust. Okay. But at the end of the day, I don't know, we had a long distance relationship. Yeah. So I basically just had faith that what you were telling me was what you were telling, or was what was happening, and vice versa. Okay. I don't know. Okay. So that's why I'm like, I don't know if it was like true, like trust, because it's kind of superficial. Yeah. Because I don't really like.
But being that we had a long distance relationship, you had to trust that what I was saying to you over the phone, that I was actually doing those things and not doing something else,
I did. But that's what I'm saying. It's trust, but we weren't married. So even though, I was trusting that what you were telling me you were actually doing. Okay. But if I would have found out that was false, I could have been like, oh, well, you know what I'm saying? I still had an out. We weren't even engaged.
No, I get that.
So that's what I'm saying. So it's like, you have to have some level of like trust in that person, but really commitment. Like once you decide that you're going to get married, at that point, I feel like that's when all the other components come into play. Okay. Because there's certain things like, okay, so yes, I got to be able to trust you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you did ask the question, I could say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like I felt like, yes, we have to respect each other so that I could say yes. Like there are other little things that needed to be in play for me to say yes to your proposal.
Okay.
But I still had an out because we weren't married.
Okay. So
that's why I feel like these are elements that are needed for your relationship, but they don't get bonded until you say I do.
Okay.
Because that's when things are official and you cannot be easily broken.
Okay.
At that point is when the pressure and heat come.
So you don't feel that after we said I do, there was other materials that got added to the bond we already had that continued to add pressure on it like that?
Yes, that's what it said.
Okay.
Once we said I do, then the heat turns up.
Okay. So you said, okay. Okay.
That's when the heat and that's when the pressure.
Okay.
That's when, because I mean, you have your family.
Yeah.
Comes into play for real. Like they might have been making some noise during the wedding or whatever, but now y'all are a unit. Now you have to set the proper boundaries.
Okay.
On your family, on your friends.
Yep.
Because you're going to have that because your friends only know you as the single person.
Correct. No, you're right. You're right.
So you're going to have that outside pressure.
Okay.
But like, oh, we're going to hang out and you're not coming? Like, oh, so now you married, you can't come out. You gotta get wifey's approval. Like, it's all that stuff. Okay. So you have those pressures and then even work. Okay. And we had that, but we had that going into the marriage.
Correct.
Of being, of layoffs, and we've dealt with layoffs
quite often.
More often than I would have liked. But yes. So we've dealt with that, but we even not necessarily to the extreme of layoffs, we've dealt with numerous work stresses.
Correct.
Dealing with promotions, dealing with passive aggressions, microaggressions, like all that stuff. We've dealt with that, and that definitely impacts your marriage.
Correct.
Finances.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely a stressor and a pressure point. Kids, parenting, pregnancy, not even, but like pregnancies. That's a whole, like that puts pressure on your relationship prior to the kid even getting here. Yeah. And that's like, so that's why I feel like and then even back to the family. So you also have to decide how you want your marriage to show up.
Correct.
To others and who you're going to allow to speak into it and whatever.
That's a good point.
When it comes to family, most think that, now that we married, when y'all having kids. It's like instantly. No, like and so that's what we have to set firm boundaries.
Correct. No,
but like, listen, we'll start our family when we're ready to start our family.
Correct.
Because y'all not going to take the kid.
Even though they probably would have, but yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
With one, they definitely would.
But not with all three we had, right? Yeah.
So we had set guidelines. Like we were not, you cannot pressure us. We'll let y'all know when it happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, because we want to travel. And we want to actually get to know each other as husband and wife before inviting another person into our life forever.
No.
So that was something that, that's often a pressure because families think that, this is how we did it. Yeah. You guys need to do it the same way.
Correct.
Even about like where you're going to live. That could be. Yeah. Like we were, I think we were just like, because we didn't get married when we were like young, I felt like we were both in a good position to be like, this is what we're gonna do for us. Yeah, like we were very independent and firm in what we wanted to do.
Everybody outside of
yes, so we were not easily influenced.
That's true.
I should say by external people, and so that allowed us to be like, listen. We're going to live here in Texas. Jay's from New York.
Yeah.
And then there was even questions about holidays, even before we had kids.
No, that is
so
true.
we had to deal with that. So that's what I'm saying. That's why it's like, as soon as you say I do, it's like, that's when the heat and the pressure
just comes. Yeah. No, you're right. So do you think, I guess you made a good point about the materials and then those other things being more the pressures. So I guess something that I read about intimacy.
Yes.
That is another pressure that you can experience after you say I do. And I say this because it's something that I didn't know prior to that. You know, I always thought intimacy was just physical.
Yes.
I didn't know that there were other ways of intimacy.
Yes.
You know, being emotional, experimental, spiritual. Is that it? I think that's it. Okay. There might be another one, but
whatever you say.
So with having to learn, we're having to learn not say extra, but to actually kind of extend our repertoire, not repertoire, but extend what that meaning is and learning what that is and being able to incorporate that in our marriage and understand that it's not always just about the physical. That was a pressure too. So
yes, sex and intimacy, it is another form of pressure, another form of heat. Because you also have those who, you have the purity movement.
Okay.
So those who are very religious, I shouldn't say they, I'll speak for myself. I was taught, don't have sex because you're going to have kids.
Okay.
Don't have sex because you'll have kids. Don't have sex because you have to save yourself for your husband.
Okay.
So other than that, that's all we're taught about being a physical, sexual person.
Okay.
Just don't do it. So so you can grow up having a negative connotation associated with sex.
Yeah.
Or just associated with those feelings and those emotions as you're growing up, and your body and your hormones are all coming into play, and you don't know how to handle it because if you have any thoughts, any kind of feeling, you're like, oh no, the devil is in me. Yeah. I'm going to hell. And so you have all this like negative just feelings and stuff associated with it. But then you say, if you're able to save yourself to, until you do get married, then it's like, okay, now you're married. Have sex.
Go have fun.
Have that connection with your husband. How?
Be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah, how?
You done told me it was bad all this time.
All my life, you've been telling me sex and all these emotions and all these feelings, all these hormones, they're wrong. They're of the devil, basically. Mm-hmm. And then now you're telling me it's okay to do it?
And go make babies for us. Yeah.
Yes. And what does that mean? What does that mean? So having to have that conversation, first of all, you don't even know how to have a conversation because you were not taught. I was like, to bring up sex in church was sacrilegious. Yeah. Oh, do not do it. So it's like, so then how are you supposed to now talk to your husband about it?
Mm-hmm. And be open to be open with it.
Yes.
And then because you really haven't talked about it, you don't really know how to have those conversations.
Right. Yeah. And then if you do get married and you're not a virgin, you still have that negative connotation associated with sex. So I might have did it before we got married, but that ain't something I'm talking about. Like, I'm not, I'm not making a big deal. And I did it. It wasn't like, it wasn't the glorious, the beautiful thing that it could be. Yeah. Wasn't necessarily with that because it was just an act. Like you said, it's just the act of it, the physical component of it.
Correct.
It didn't equate all the other things.
Correct.
So you have to work through that. And then that's just like, it's just pressure. Because then you have high, low,
High low what?
What is it? High low, oh man. The people who wanted more.
Okay.
So higher desire. There we go.
I want you to get.
I was trying to find the term. I was like, I see it. I can't grab it. I got it. Okay. So there's higher desire, lower desire.
Okay.
And then also with like, so it's like you not wanting to be obligated. Like lower desire feeling like they have to be obligated to satisfy the higher desire. Mm-hmm. Higher desire feeling rejected. Like that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Yes. While you're married.
Okay.
So,
right.
So yes, that is another pressure point. All of it.
Okay. Well, I guess do you think are there any other pressures that you face after you say I do? I know you said finances. We kind of said finances, but as a pressure, I guess why would you say that's a huge pressure?
Okay. Like, where do I begin? Well, I mean, because it depends on like how you guys are going to manage your finances.
Okay.
So you can take it there. You're going to have to identify who's the saver, who's the spender, like who's going to be good at managing that. However you guys decide to manage it.
Okay.
How are you going to do that? You got to prioritize dreams and goals.
Yeah.
Because you might be wanting something completely different than what I want.
Correct.
And that could be, buying a house to buying a new
car,
car or taking a certain trip or whatever. There's so many things or whatever. Especially like if one's more into fashion than the other, and then if one's a sneakerhead, like it can go as small or as big as whatever, but having to prioritize those, that is crucial. Also too, you have the higher earner. Okay. And so that could be a pressure if that person is not the husband, which is what society deems that should be the person who makes the most money. Correct. Should be the husband. And I know there's a lot of women out there. I know in our case, for the large majority of our marriage, I was a higher earner. Mm-hmm. And so then so you have that, I
didn't have a problem with that. So
I know, but it's still a pressure. It's still something that needs to be addressed because it can start off that the husband being okay with it. And then, but as her career progresses, it could become an issue because now it might just be a little bit to a lot, or he might have to sacrifice his career, upward mobility for hers. That wasn't our situation, but like as you're going up, and you're going to the C-suite of things, it'll take the wife more so away from the household. Yeah. Then the husband will have to, step up in that regard. So then he might not be able to take the promotions that he wants. Okay. So so it can show up in many ways. Yeah. So I kind of say this because if I wasn't okay with that, I don't know if we would be married to this day with you being the higher earner. And I say that just because literally after we got married, I was out of work for 17, 18 months. Yep. Mm-hmm. So that would have been a problem. We'd probably been arguing about it all the time. But because I was okay with it, I'm not saying okay, I didn't get into where I needed to do this. I needed to be, the heavy earner. It wasn't about that because when we got married, it was about us. So anything that we did financially that would bring money to the house was us. It wasn't like it was she's the main breadwinner. Okay, I gotta ask her for money to go get something to eat. Well, no, but we had to work through that because I want to talk to my independent ladies for a second. I was very independent. Like I said before, I didn't think I was getting married. So of course, when he got laid off, I didn't see it as being a problem because nothing changed in my eyes. Mm. I was still independent, but I had a husband, but I was the higher earner. So I initially I was like, I kind of facilitate work because I was also taking, like, I took care of my finances, and then the way Jay took care of his, I said no. So,
we agreed upon that.
We agreed that I would manage the money. So for me, it didn't necessarily change, but we had to have a conversation because I did have to shift my mindset. I had to shift my mindset as like, even though I am doing a lot of the stuff that's associated with our money, it is our money. And I didn't want to make him feel some type of way, because also too, I didn't want him to just take any old job, because I knew how educated he was and how talented he was. I was like, I don't want you to just take any job just so you can feel like you're contributing to the household. Yeah. But we had to have that conversation and work through it, because it didn't come just naturally. Yeah. So that's all I wanted to add that in.
So, but yeah, so, no, you're right. Because we did have to have some of these conversations because, it wasn't at first, but after I wasn't getting jobs, that's when for me, I was more like, I got into that mindset, well, I need to, we're together, we're married, but I need to bring something to the table. And it wasn't about, I need to find a job that equals how much she had. Right. For me, it was more that I needed to bring something else. Right. So. Right.
And I wanted him to get a job in where he wanted, like in his career, like what he wanted to be doing, not just getting a job to bring in a check. Yeah. And then also we were trying to prove a point to others as well.
Yeah, you sure right. So that's more of the outside pressures.
It was outside. Yes, it was outside pressures. Yeah,
outside pressures. That was saying I was naysayer. Just say I was a naysayer. That I wasn't worth it. That's all.
Yeah, he was lazy.
Yeah, that is. Just say it.
Yes. So there are people saying that he's lazy. He's just marrying you to level up in that sense. And I was just like, no, but yeah. And so, but what's funny even about that, and that's the one thing about pressures, they're going to come. Yeah. The pressures are going to come, the heat's going to come, but the way you tackle it is what makes the difference. Correct. So yes, we had those external pressures and beliefs trying to be placed on our marriage. But what we did, we got closer together and we figured out, how are we going to tackle this? Yes. And that's why, because we're both competitive too. So it just kind of worked. We were like, oh no, y'all can say whatever you want to say, but this is how it's gonna, this is how we operate. Exactly. And so then we were able to, that's why we were able to, I didn't even realize it was that long until we were just talking about it. I was like, oh, that was a long time.
It was.
But yeah, we managed it. It was fun.
But just kind of like what she said, to kind of piggyback, it's in, like I said earlier, when I first started talking about what I said at the wedding, it's those pressures that are going to bond you guys together. And that's where you have to have these conversations. You have to talk about these, because you guys, one of the things that we've done, we haven't done over the pandemic, but we always had a plan for the year that we wanted to do, like a goal. We had goals that we wanted to do. Yeah. If there was, not temporary, but
short term
and then long term goals. So we always put those in place every year so that we have a direction of where we're going, rather than just letting the days come and just, dealing with pressures as we have. Because as long as you set that goal, those pressures aren't going to be as impactful if you don't have already a plan. So, but yeah, that's, that was one of the things that, I kind of want to, bring to everybody, because you're going to face pressure, but it's how you guys deal with the pressure. And it's not about how I deal with the pressure by myself, because we're separate people. We deal with pressure differently, but it's about us. It's about our marriage and how are we going to deal with this pressure together. So, and then the last part, I kind of want to, we'll go into it, and I don't think it's going to be too long, but it's, the time, like I said, the formation of Diamond, it takes a long time to do this. So, there's no, I guess I'll put it this, there's no timetable of how long it will take for your marriage to become that diamond.
Correct.
Because it's a process, and every single day you're working towards that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's, you know, when I say you're working towards that, it's like after a diamond gets pulled out of the ground,
mm-hmm.
it's not a diamond.
Mm-hmm.
You have to start cutting stuff away from it to get it. That's where you get the cut, all that stuff, the clarity, because they're cutting it. You're cutting it specific to, you know, what it needs to be.
Yep.
So in our marriages, we go through those times where we're removing things, we're cutting things out, because if we're not removing those things, all that's doing is hurting us. So we remove those things.
It's keeping us from fulfilling our purpose.
Correct. Correct. So, you know, but yeah, that's something that, so, you know, when I know it's probably easier said than done, but when you get married, it's a long-term process.
Yes.
It's not something that just happens. Yeah, I do. Cool. We're good. We're a diamond. No, it takes time, and you guys got to continue just to work through it, through the pressures
and grow.
Yes.
And grow. You have to continue to grow. You cannot stay stagnant.
Correct.
You have to grow, because there's always things to be learned.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're right.
There's always things to be learned.
About each other
and yourself.
Exactly, and yourself. Yes. So I guess that's all I had. Is there anything else you think you can think of? I'm
just glad we're nearing 13.
Yeah.
We're blessed. We have had.
Oh, you know what? I want to add another pressure.
Okay.
No, I just thought about it, because one of the things that we've experienced in our marriage was a lot of loss. People in our family dying. And that brings grief. It brings a lot of pressure into your marriage. And the thing is, people don't really think about that. And when you said that, it just clicked. It's that having that pressure is that can hurt your marriage, or it can make your marriage stronger, depending on how you guys deal with it together. Mm-hmm. So now you can go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because you already know I'm not gonna touch that.
No, I'm not. That's why I'm not going too deep. Yeah. I just wanted to say that part. So
yeah. No, but what I was just saying, so I didn't think I was gonna get married. So when we did get married, you say, you know, to death do us part. Yeah. But you really don't know what that means.
Correct.
So our marriage definitely looks better than it did day one, year 3, 5, all of it. So I am just excited to see how our marriage matures and us continue the cutting, because the cutting never stops.
Correct. No, it never stops.
The severity of the cuts do. Like that, that varies.
Yeah.
But the cutting is always going on.
Correct.
So.
No, that's correct.
Yeah, that's all I had.
All right. Well, once again, we appreciate you guys listening and watching. I always forget what it is.
Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe. We are on YouTube. If you're watching, you can also listen to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Correct.
Follow, like, and review.
Leave comments.
Yeah. Let us know that we're not out here by ourselves, because sometimes it feels lonely. But we hope you guys enjoyed. The handles are at the B-side. At the B-side of marriage. And then at B-side of marriage. It's Instagram. That's what I'm saying. Instagram is at B-side of marriage. Yes. Yes. So anyways, until next week. Peace.